Hello and welcome back to the factory yet again. Today we're going to be setting up a bit of wire so we can get the stators going. And today's topic is on my backup character, Martin. Now, Martin is a strange case. Ah, I see. Alright, I'm gonna have to put this somewhere over than here, that's for sure. Oh, yeah, over here. That works. I discovered I could just do this. The edge. Alright, I brought some wire over, oh sorry, some copper right over here. Which will require a splitter. Now, who is Martin? Martin is my backup character. And they're slightly different depending on which campaign they're intended to be in. For example, in the Wildemont campaign, they are actually more of a cleric. Who is more interested in being helpful and a friend than anything else, really. That's roughly where it needs to be. Okay. And that's partially because I just wanted to play a cleric in a campaign at some point. Because I've never really played very many clerics. Usually my style. Of course. I don't plan on using them anytime soon in that campaign, as I don't expect my character to be dying anytime soon in that campaign. great. I have to come over here. Now, Martin fundamentally is a changeling at the base level. Changing their face to their needs and such. Pretty much. Now, they're not just a changeling, but especially in later iterations, which we'll get to, but for the time being, Martin the Grinner, as I've coined him, the one for the Wildemont campaign, Martin being one to get involved with those sorts of organizations. I need to hook these up to power. Up this to power. That was the iron that I just did that to. Okay. Frick me. I thought that was the copper. I hadn't hooked up the copper. Alright. Gosh darn it. Well, now I gotta redo that all. Figure out some way to flush that all. Get out of the way, you. Go. Move. Move. Oi. Go. Get. Why are you walking on my specific spot that I need? I can't build on top of you. Frickin' ah. Yeah, I will be hitting you until you die. There we go. Sheesh. I don't know why it defaults to that. There we go. Now let's build a ladder all the way up to there. So that I don't have to climb up again. Go the long way at least. Alright. Now, in other campaigns, however, Martin was a changeling. later becoming a Dampier. Okay, I'm gonna have to sit here for a bit. And then from a Dampier, they ended up becoming a Hexblood. The real reason for that being that honestly, I don't need that extreme of ban. Each only needs 30. So I will need to go up there now. Basically do the same up here. I just did. Fortunately, you literally cannot pick up the last thing that comes through if you wanted. Come on. Alright, so there's Martin the Grinner, who spreads the message that the Grinners do, and that game. Well, in that setting. Okay, there's that flushed of all the iron. Really wish there was an easier way to flush all of the conveyor belts in a system. Especially when I make a mistake like that. Now, I do need... quickly bring this over here before I forget. There we go. Not sure if this will actually produce enough, but I'm gonna do that just in case that the steel pipe's not producing enough. And once I can get this flushed, it'll be creating enough copper to do that. in that campaign, Martin is a servant of a god known as Agok. Who of which is directly related to, has a direct connection to my current character in that campaign, as Agok serves as a surrogate god for kobolds. Kind of. Where their teachings are focused on basically stating that the previous kobold god, Kurtlemak, is a failure of a god. Unworthy of worship by kobolds. Because of their failure as a racial god of kobolds. Whole thing there, and, well, the idea is that this god may not entirely be what they seem. They might actually be just someone who feels that kobolds deserve more respect. Or just someone who elaborately wants to obtain the worship of kobolds for some reason. The reasoning is yet to be known. I need another merger. Over the door, and then down into the merger. And just across. Going to right here. The other line there. Going along to the other stator thing over. Yonder. There we go. And then let's make sure that this gets at least over the door. And into a merger. Try that again. It's still technically accessible. Come on. This. And then I just need well, let's see what these stators think. I have over here somewhere. 200 25 per minute. Alright, and motors needed 50. Alright, so there should be no more excess stators, and all motors should be automated. I need to figure out what I actually need to do for the fan here. I need stators and wire. And frames and steel beams. Alright. I'll create a couple of blueprints for those later. For now, let's discuss more about Martin, because I can. While I figure out what I'm going to do with this excess iron that I have over here somewhere. Well, Martin is also known as Martin the Dealbinder in the Icebound and Stormbound campaigns, or Stormbound 1, Dealbinder. In the Icebound one, the Archivist. As all three of my current characters have some involvement with Martin in some way or another, whether very directly or indirectly. All in a way that, should one of them die, hopefully Martin would end up stepping in and be incentivized to revive my original character if possible. So with the Icebound one, currently Martin is my lawyer. Or was going to be my lawyer. Having made deals. With the Collector in some past life to then owe him in some way to be what is basically a lawyer. Okay. Last part, building over to here. being a motor. Excellent. Now, Martin the Dealbinder is a wizard who casts spells by invoking contracts. I think I've discussed this before. The idea being very much that excuse me. There's probably a flaw in the steel pipe distribution. Yeah. Then was not connected where it should have been. That explains why stators were not coming through. Alright. And Martin has been using this, the City of the Last Hope, right? The City of Last Hope to, basically acquire themselves favors. Initially, just as, like, making deals with the desperate souls that were there. Helping them, like, escape the city or such. In exchange for favors, which the Martin had the ability to exchange with other entities. Combining favors to eventually acquiesce into spell slots. Later, with their legal influence in the city, instating laws or encouraging laws against possession of living individuals within the city as a ploy to basically make people think that they want to possess or be possessed more than they actually do. Ultimately leading to Martin becoming a back alley ghost possession dealer. Selling possession like it's a product. And getting people together in exchange for tiny favors, basically. Which the people can have, which the people who he makes deals with have no choice but to accept, really, because it... and are magically bound to fulfill. Or at least such favors are then exchanged to extra planar entities, but yeah. And then using this legal consultation, which is not... he's not actually that good as a legal consultant. It's just the fact that he helped write... that Martin happened to help write a lot of the laws. Or formulate them. Or encourage them. That Martin get people out of trouble. The people that Martin intentionally got into trouble, by the way, without their knowledge, to then make them owe Martin even more. Long story short, Martin has a pretty good thing going in the city of Last Hope. And the collector dying and Martin having to fulfill a certain contract will greatly inconvenience that thing, or possibly get Martin into a lot of trouble. But as I said, I might not be able to play Martin for that, as my backup character in that campaign, depending on how the DM, what me and the DM decide upon. Because there is also an argument that Martin might not be actually able to go to the Radiant Citadel at the current time. Or I'd have to come up with a freaking good reason, well, a good enough reason for the DM at least, why Martin would be able to get to the Radiant Citadel to accompany the party. Which is why I think I might be able to use Irewig as my backup character there. Now, this Martin has supposedly done deals with a collector in the past, the one that they helped basically create this city of Last Hope. And part of the contracts that were made ensured that Martin would have to serve collector or the collector's previous party should the collector be deceased unexpectedly, trapped, or unexpectedly removed from their party. Something like that. Meanwhile, Martin in the Stormbound campaign was one of the contacts which Kylan got in contact with the thing that ended up leading to the condition. Long story short, Kylan's condition as a reborn is partially related to Martin, or things that Martin has done. And we shall see what that is if and when Kylan dies again. Now, Martin is also a kind of a purposely unexplained entity. And serves a even more purposely unexplained entity. Which that entity is ensuring that Martin always comes back. Because there are two things about Martin that are important to note. That Martin always comes back. Always. When he dies, always will be back. When Martin... Like, even Martin's soul could be consumed, yet Martin would be return. It did. Martin doesn't necessarily return to the same place that they died, or even the same time. Could be quite the amount of time between coming back and that. But this entity always puts their servant back into the world. Puts it back into the toy chest. Should it ever be broken. Kind of thing. And then there was also a version of Martin that is, Martin actually has a favorite form. While as a changeling, their favored form is actually that of a kobold. Which is what created Martin Definitely a Kobold. Which is like a kobold version of a changeling. Using basically like the changeling of things, but the base is on a white scaled changeling. Well, a white scaled, not changeling, kobold. Kind of like a chameleon. Now, I guess I've lost my train of thought here. And there's some parts that I can't really explain too much. Just in case someone unintended sees this, but I guess one analogy that I constantly tell myself is imagine that with this purposely unexplained entity that Martin serves. Imagine that the universe is like a toy box. And, well, there's a toy maker who makes all the toys. Then that's whatever. And in this case, it's kind of like the DM. But not quite the DM. And this toy maker, they are very particular about their toys, and they put all sorts of toys in this chest. Now, this other unexplained entity is like someone else seeing the toys in the chest and deciding to replicate a couple of them and put them in himself. Just making a copy of one, or painting one a little bit differently, and putting it back. And Martin is like that other entity taking a toy of their own, based on one of the toys in the chest, or many of the toys in the chest, really, and installing a little camera or something, or basically giving it a bit of capability to manipulate the world around the other toys, and then instructing it remotely to kind of just mess with the toy maker and the other toys, and then putting it back into the toy chest every time that it gets discovered, destroyed, or whatever. Now, Kylan is like, with Kylan Rathmar, it's kind of like, they had Martin, or such, this, pawn of theirs, install a camera into one of them, and speaker, or some audio picking up device, like a tiny microphone and camera, to be able to see into the toy chest every so often. And hear into the toy chest with limited control. And the collector is like a... like they took a... they introduced a mold or something. Something that, they just... or they put in a paint that doesn't dry really, and it just gets everywhere. It smudges of itself all over the place. But it also likes to consolidate onto certain pieces. And occasionally they have their servant go around and, but when one piece got a lot of this paint on it at some point, sometimes he has the servant, when that piece gets destroyed, it's his little, servant that he's put in there, go and, try to fix the toy. As they can't directly influence things too much, but they also revel in messing with the toy maker. Totally. Or something like that. Not a perfect analogy, as few analogies are. Yeah, that is Martin and this mysterious entity. Next time, I think, well, I need to find something else to do other than just parkouring around my base here while I talk. And, I will be discussing some other character builds that I, want to try out, or have made and just haven't been given the chance to try out. So yeah, with that, thank you for watching. I hope you liked the video. I'd appreciate it if you liked and subscribed the video, leave a comment with any questions or other topics you think you'd like to hear. And, bye!